Welcome back to WION World is One. Thank you so much for staying with us. My name is Heem Korsura and here's what we've lined up for you on Speed News today. Ukraine's military lost its first French-supplied Mirage 2000 fighter jet during a mission. The Ukrainian Air Force said that a French Mirage 2000 crashed in the country's Volyn region on the evening of the 22nd of July 2025. This after the Mirage 2000 fighter jet experienced a technical failure during a training mission. According to the Air Force, search and rescue teams located the pilot in stable condition and no casualties were reported on the ground. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba has reportedly planned to resign from his post by August. This comes after US President Donald Trump announced a massive trade deal on Tuesday with Japan. With Japan paying 15% reciprocal tariffs on goods being exported to US and investors paying $550 billion in Washington. Ishiba has been facing opposition with his Liberal Democratic Party for his pledge to stay in the government despite the ruling coalition facing a crushing defeat in Sunday's upper house election. The U.S. Justice Department asked lawyers for Jeffrey Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell if she would be willing to speak with U.S. prosecutors. The decision to request a meeting with Maxwell comes as Attorney General Pam Bondi has faced mounting pressure from President Donald Trump's supporters to release additional materials related to Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein killed himself in a jail cell in 2019 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. Amid mounting pressure to order the release of Epstein files, Trump termed the controversy a witch hunt. He's blasted media over questions surrounding Epstein and said that American public and media should concentrate on accusations of corruption against Democratic opponents rather than the Epstein files. Hundreds of protesters gathered in Tel Aviv demanding the delivery of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Carrying bags of flour on their shoulders and holding images of starving children, the demonstrators symbolically highlighted the severity of the crisis facing civilians in Gaza. The head of Gaza's largest hospital said 21 children have died due to malnutrition and starvation in the Palestinian territory in the past 3 days. A joint statement from 28 Western aligned countries on Monday condemned the inhumane killing of civilians in Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu held a situation assessment with the Israeli negotiating team in Doha. The team has been in Qatar for over 2 weeks working to secure a ceasefire deal with Hamas. If the deal agreed upon, it would see roughly half the remaining hostages, living and dead, released during a 60-day truce. President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff will be in West Asia as the U.S. tries once again to reach a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Tammy Bruce, the State Department spokesperson, told reporters that Witkoff was going to the region with a strong hope that the U.S. can deliver a ceasefire deal as well as a new humanitarian corridor for aid distribution. A group of armed men opened fire in the direction of a convoy evacuating civilians from Soweto. Footage that surfaced shows crowds of people surrounding Red Crescent buses carrying civilians and shots being fired in their direction. Hundreds of Bedouin civilians were evacuated from Syria's predominantly Druze city of Sweden on Monday as part of US-backed truce meant to end days of bloodshed in southern Syria. In fresh action targeting the Iran-backed Houthis, the US has imposed sanctions on what it said was a Houthi-linked petroleum smuggling and sanctions evasion network across Yemen and the United Arab Emirates. The US Treasury Department in a statement said these networks of shady businesses underpin the Houthis' terrorist machine, and the Treasury will use all the tools at its disposal to disrupt these schemes. Among those targeted is Mohammed al-Sunaydar, who the Treasury said manages a network of petroleum companies between Yemen and the United Arab Emirates and was one of the most prominent petroleum importers in Yemen. India's permanent representative to the United Nations, P. Harish, gave a fiery response to Pakistan Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar's statement on Kashmir and the Indus Waters Treaty. At the UNSC calling out Pakistan for its terror activities, the Indian envoy said that on one hand there is India, that is a mature democracy and with a surging economy, while on the other hand there is Pakistan that is steeped in fanaticism and terrorism and a frequent borrower of the IMF. India has extended its restrictions on Pakistani aircraft entering the Indian airspace with the notice to airmen NOTAM now valid until the 23rd of August. The decision, according to Minister for State for Civil Aviation, is in line with the ongoing strategic priorities and national security considerations. The initial ban implemented in April 2025 has been repeatedly extended. India will raise the issue of Khalistani extremism and the return of fugitive economic offenders during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's two-day official visit to the country, which begins today. Statement by Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri on Prime Minister Modi's upcoming visit to the UK detailed the agenda of the meet, adding that Khalistani extremism and a return of fugitives will be taken up besides discussions on the trade agreement as well. Thousands of people gathered in Kyiv and other cities across Ukraine to urge the president to veto a controversial bill that threatens anti-corruption infrastructure. The protest marked the first major rally against the government in more than 3 years of war. According to parliamentary database, President Zelensky signed a law passed earlier on Tuesday restricting the autonomy of Ukraine's anti-corruption agencies. Now, ahead of negotiations with Russia this week, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that securing a ceasefire and the release of prisoners remains top priority. Zelensky also said that Ukraine and its partners working to organize the Leaders' Peace Summit and secure the return of civilians and children detained by Russia. Peace talks between Ukraine and Russia, the first in 7 weeks, are planned to start today in Turkey. Tears of joy and relief marked the emotional homecoming of Venezuelan migrants who endured months of alleged abuse in a Salvadoran prison. Families across Venezuela welcomed their loved ones with banners, flags and home-cooked meals. The migrants were accused of gang ties without due process, a claim that the rights groups have disputed. Early morning rain bringing some relief from persistent humidity in New Delhi. However, widespread traffic disruptions and waterlogging witnessed across Delhi, creating significant challenges for motorists navigating through flooded streets. The India Met Department has predicted generally cloudy skies with light to moderate rain and thunderstorms through the day. The cumulative death toll has reached 135 in Himachal Pradesh, of which 76 are due to rain-related incidents such as landslides, flash floods, cloudbursts and electrocution, while 59 deaths have occurred in road accidents. Major casualties have been reported from districts such as Mandi, Kangra, Kullu and Chamba due to a series of natural calamities including landslides, cloudbursts and sudden floods. The monetary loss across Himachal Pradesh is estimated around 1.2 crore rupees. Authorities continue to carry out rescue and relief operations. Multiple relief camps have been set up in regions worst hit by natural calamities in wake of heavy rain. Torrential monsoon rain caused severe flooding in Manila, paralyzing capital city and forcing tens of thousands of people to evacuate. At least 6 people have died. Another 6 remain missing after tropical storm Wifa skirted the country. Nearly 70,000 people have been forced to evacuate overnight. Dramatic videos that surface show submerged roads, families wading through rising waters, and rescue operations underway. Heavy rain inundated southern Mexico City, forcing rescue teams to assist stranded drivers and clear blocked drains. Police officers helped motorists escape from vehicles trapped on waterlogged roads and towed cars stranding on flooded streets. The city's Civil Protection Agency also issued a yellow alert as heavy downpours affected numerous neighborhoods. Albanian firefighters battled a wildfire in the mountainous region using aerial and ground resources to combat the blaze in challenging terrain. National Aviation Agency of Civil Protection deployed drones equipped with thermal cameras to assist in planning and coordinating firefighting efforts. Firefighters assisted by 4 aircraft from Italy and Greece battled 2 wildfires at a national park in the north and near the southwestern village. Shares of Japanese and South Korean automakers soared on Wednesday after US President Trump unveiled a trade deal with Japan. Toyota surged 13%, Honda jumped 9%, Nissan climbed nearly 9%. The move offers relief to Japan's crucial auto sector, which sends over a quarter of its exports to the US. South Korean automakers Hyundai and Kia also rallied, gaining more than 6% on hopes of a similar deal. With the August 1st tariff deadline looming, Seoul now faces added pressure to strike its own agreement. South Korea heads into trade talks with the US on Friday, eyeing a breakthrough in the highly competitive auto and steel sector. Using dollar declines amid new trade deal with Japan despite less tariffs announced, the currency markets remain cautious. Yen briefly flipped before falling again as reports emerge of Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba impending resignation. Since Trump's tariff shock on the 2nd of April, the dollar index has dropped over 6.6%. Uncertainty still clouds global trade policy, with US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent hinting that more deadline extensions are possible. Meanwhile, market eyes remain on the Fed as Trump renews pressure on Chair Powell, raising questions over central bank independence. Gold prices are down as investor risk appetite picked up following the new trade deal announcement. However, the drop was capped by a weakening dollar and lower US Treasury yields, both of which continue to support bullion. Analysts say if more trade deals are finalized before the 1st of August, it could dampen demand for safe haven assets like gold. But with the dollar under pressure, a return to $3,500 remain in sight, and Trump's ongoing attacks on Fed chair, calling him a numbskull, added to market volatility as well, with some warning of choppy price action under low liquidity conditions. Oil prices edged higher on Wednesday as investors tracked progress on US tariff talks with key partners. Oil prices bounced back from a 3-day slide. President Trump's tariff agreements with Japan and the Philippines boosted Asian equities and US stock futures. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is set to meet Chinese officials in Stockholm next week, with discussions likely to cover sanctioned oil purchases from Russia and Iran. Despite this rebound, Brent remains down 8% this year, pressured by demand fears from the ongoing trade war and the rising OPEC plus supply. Analysts expect price swings to persist ahead of the August 1st deadline. England women's never say die attitude has carried them to another major final. The Lionesses came from behind once again to beat Italy in extra time and are now just one win away from retaining their European Championship title. Barbara Bonencia strike midway through the first half gave them the lead. Michelle Aguimeng equalized in the 96th minute. With just a minute left in extra time, it was super sub Chloe Kelly who sealed it. England will now face either world champion Spain or Germany for the title. English Premier League club Crystal Palace have appealed against their demotion from the Europa League to the Conference League with the Court of Arbitration for Sport. The Eagles were punished for breaching UEFA's multi-club ownership rules. Uncertainty over their participation arose when Lyon also qualified for the Europa League. Both clubs were linked by a common investor, American billionaire John Textor, to avoid sanctions. Textor agreed to sell his shares in Palace, and that sale came too late, missing UEFA's March 1st deadline. Daniel Radcliffe, the beloved actor who captivated a generation as Harry Potter, celebrated his 36th birthday. The British star has forged an impressive and diverse career since his visiting days, earning critical acclaim on both screen and stage. Born in London, Radcliffe shot to international fame at just 12 years old with the release of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone in 2001. Over the course of a decade, he starred in all 8 films of the iconic franchise, becoming one of the most recognizable faces in the world. Ozzy Osbourne, the lead singer of the pioneer band Black Sabbath, has died at the age of 76, just weeks after his farewell show. The singer's family issued a statement that read, and I'm quoting here, It is with more sadness than my words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. He was with his family and surrounded by love. We ask everyone to respect our family privacy at this time.